Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here to celebrate the successful completion of this first class of the Institute. Now, I was in Brasilia last week, and I had prepared a talk on, most of you know the capital of Brazil, Brasilia, one of the great kind of top-down transformative plans of the 19th century, fundamentally celebrating the car. But what I was going to talk about was the bottom-up creative acts of the local people there trying to adapt this very rigid, rule-based master plan to the rapidly changing social and economic and environmental concerns. I even had a video of a pop-up salsa band playing illegally, a little clip of me dancing with the locals. Anyway, I decided to leave that talk for another time and get at the same ideas through these principles that we live by at my group at MIT. So I'm going to go through them very quickly, the 10 principles. First of all, optimization is not the goal of our group. Rather, we think of transformation over optimization. Now, we have these grand challenges that we're all facing: climate change, equity, jobs for a changing economy. What is the implication of AI? We'll not get there to solutions through optimization. That's fundamentally about incremental improvement. We need more transformative solutions, related to mobility and energy and food and settlement patterns and the rules of public policy, et cetera. So we always reject those research projects that are fundamentally about incremental optimization. We look at for more transformative projects. The second is compass over maps. Now, maps will give you a detailed pathway, but we're in uncharted territory. It's impossible to draw a map. So we really need to think about how to approach in an exploratory way these new challenges. If you're facing a complex design problem or even setting a career path in life, I think it really is not useful to try to chart out a detailed plan. In fact, if you go to Silicon Valley, the good VCs don't want to see a business plan. It's too early. They want to know, what is your compass direction? Where are you heading? What is the team? That's what's critical. So, compass over maps. The third is risk over safety. No, there's never been a successful startup that I know of that prioritized safety over risk. Every new transformative idea has involved taking risks. I think it's one advantage maybe we have in the US over much of what goes on in Europe is at the Media Lab or in Silicon Valley, there's almost a complete lack of fear of failure. You're not penalized for failure as long as you fail rapidly and you then rapidly converge on something successful. So risk over safety. Open over closed. I decided many years ago that everything we do should be open. It's all open source. We don't keep any proprietary IP. We do patents, but we make everything open. I think there's an advantage to a company sometimes to keep things closed, increases profit, but if you're looking at societal transformation, social impact, I think everything needs to be open. Practice over theory. Theory is important when you're starting a project. You need to have a theory, a hypothesis, but with the kind of problems we're dealing with, the scholars are dealing with, you need to quickly put it into practice because that's when you get feedback. You can then challenge your theory and then rapidly iterate with the information from that. I think it's terrific that the scholars are actually working in the cities and they're getting feedback from the communities, from leadership in government. That's putting theory into practice. So you need both, but privilege practice. Disobedience over compliance. So nobody ever won a Nobel Prize by being obedient, or a Pritzker Prize for that matter, by being obedient. Follow the rules whenever you can, but don't be afraid to break the rules if it's in the interest of a good cause and necessary to achieve the kind of transformation that we're looking for. Resilience over strength. I mean, we saw in the pandemic, there were very brittle systems that people thought were very strong, but they broke. So be more like bamboo that flexes and bends in the wind, to be flexible, not brittle. And I think this is key with all the uncertainty that we're facing in the future. We have to think about resilient systems, and that requires a different way of thinking. Pull over push. I mean, this is really what I was going to get at with the Brasilia example. That's very much a top-down plan with top-down rules, but we also that's a pushing ideas into society. We need that top-down structure, but we also need to enable this bottom-up innovation, this emergent behavior. Great cities are usually have some brilliant top-down structure, but what we most appreciate, the vibrancy of a city, comes from the creative acts of thousands and thousands of people over generations, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the activists, the people who are enlightened in government. So we need this balance of pull over push, top down, bottom up, but since we've mostly privileged the top down, I think now we need to prioritize the bottom up, the pull over push. Systems over objects. We live in a very complex world. Brasilia really, in some ways, it was a system at some level, but fundamentally it was a series of objects, a series of these great Niemeyer buildings that are really the iconic image of Brasilia. But we all need to think more holistically. We need to think about systems and complexity rather than objects. And then finally, learning over education. Education is really one way. It's a knowledge transfer, but fundamentally, to address the challenges of the future, we need to think about learning, lifelong learning, learning by doing, learning by the creative collaboration of many people to solve these complex problems. So anyway, these are the ideas that I hope we can continue to bring into the Institute. Be happy to talk about some of these, particularly the more controversial ones with all of you later. Thank you.